Good morning. My name is Tim Schubert. I'm a plant pathologist with the Florida Department of Agriculture. We're here at the entrance to a typical citrus grove. As you approach the entrance or exit to a grove, the topic that should come to mind is decontamination. The citrus canker pathogen is a bacterium. It's water splashed through the environment. Bacteria leave the lesions on infected tissue whenever water strikes it. Irrigation water, rainwater, dew, all of those can liberate bacteria for splash dispersal into the environment. When you make contact with the infected tissue or in the vicinity of infected tissue, you will get that bacteria on your hands and on your person, on your shoes, any equipment that you use that comes into the vicinity of the citrus that's infected could be contaminated and thereby move the inoculum to a faraway place. We can't control inoculum dispersal that is weather dispensed, but we can control what is moved about by human activities. And for that reason, the CHRP program requires decontamination of personnel and equipment as you exit the grove. A wise grower may decide to also require decontamination upon entrance. That would be optional, but I would highly recommend that. The station that you see behind me is a typical setup. There's a large loop to decontaminate vehicles automatically, and this aqua-colored booth here is designed to apply automatically a sanitizer for personnel. Now, if you ride into the grove in a vehicle, you will need to decontaminate on exit. As you set up an automatic vehicle sanitizer, it may sanitize going in and out. There's no problem with that, but it must sanitize upon exit in order to be in compliance with the rules. There are two different compounds that are used for sanitation. The one for vehicles is a harsher material. It's used for germicidal activities, the same sorts of materials that you use in your bathroom at home or for kitchen sanitation, for food preparation, are the usual compounds used in the vehicle sanitizers, equipment sanitizers. It's important that you thoroughly wet the surfaces so that the material runs off of the piece of equipment, and leave the material on there for several minutes in order for it to have a chance to work. If it's a dirty surface, it will take a longer period of time for that to work. So you need to make certain that application is made to the underside of the vehicle and to the exterior of the vehicle that may have come in contact with citrus or weeds in the vicinity of the citrus. If it's possible to have dedicated equipment and vehicles inside the grove proper, that is preferable, and leave your transportation vehicles on the outside so that you don't have to sanitize all of the pieces of equipment. But anything that comes in and out must be sanitized. Now, the aqua-colored booth here has an automatic applicator for personnel. This is a milder antiseptic material. It's much like the materials you've used for first aid for a cut or a scrape. You've probably used them in the past and weren't aware of them. They're very safe to use. They've been in use for many, many years. You apply those to any body surface or any clothing, your shoes, your pant legs, anything that comes in contact with citrus or the vegetation near citrus will need to be sanitized. These automatic sanitation booths will accomplish that for you. Again, if you can avoid any contact with citrus that's unnecessary, that will minimize the risk of transmitting. But when you do make contact, certain activities, it's inevitable. When you're working on the irrigation equipment, perhaps planting trees, particularly harvesting. Harvesting is one of the riskiest activities in citrus production. And all of the equipment and all the personnel that are inherent in that operation must be thoroughly sanitized. They inevitably make repeated intimate contact with the citrus, then they go to other locations. And in the past, we've had a number of instances where the circumstantial evidence clearly indicates that picking activities have transmitted the disease. You want to sanitize so that you delay the onset of citrus canker as long as possible. Eventually, we suspect that weather-related transmission is going to spread the disease throughout the state, but if you can prevent that for as long as possible, that is to your benefit. Behind me you see a typical automated sanitation booth for personnel. It applies personnel sanitizer, not equipment sanitizer. It's activated by a button at the entrance. The person walks through the loop, being careful to make sure his shoes and his hands are thoroughly decontaminated. If you're not afforded the opportunity of an automated sanitizing booth, you can use a spray applied sanitizer to hands, anything that's made in contact with the citrus. apply it to your clothing. Sometimes it helps if you assist someone so you can get the bottoms of their shoes thoroughly. You spray one another's hands. If you'll spray my shoes. We want to make sure that any of our clothing that's made contact also gets sanitized. Again, it's always wise to avoid unnecessary contact with citrus, but upon exit, it's mandatory that you sanitize both personnel and equipment.